There's a quiet kind of beauty that has nothing to do with youth. You've seen it before. A woman who doesn't need to compete, doesn't chase attention, doesn't try to prove she's still got it. Yet somehow, everyone feels her presence when she walks into a room. People say she's confident or that she has good energy, but it's more than that. It's the result of something deeper, a kind of inner alignment that most people spend their whole lives searching for. Society tells women that their power fades with age, that beauty has an expiration date, that attention equals worth. And yet, the most magnetic women are often those who've stopped trying to be noticed. They radiate a calm certainty, as if they've made peace with time, as if they know something the rest of us don't. The truth is, attraction doesn't begin in the body, it begins in the mind. It's the quiet mastery of a person who's met herself fully and no longer resists what she is. So if you've ever wondered why some women become more captivating as they get older, while others fade into bitterness or fear, this video is for you. Because what makes an older woman truly irresistible has nothing to do with cosmetics and everything to do with consciousness. And before we go deeper, remember to subscribe and share this reflection, not just for you, but for those who have forgotten that aging can be a kind of awakening. Every comment, every share, every act of reflection helps someone else remember that beauty and wisdom are not opposites. Today, we'll uncover 6 habits, not of behavior but of being, that make a woman magnetic in the way only truth can. You'll see that what once felt like loss of youth, of certainty, of validation, was never loss at all, but an initiation into real power. By the end of this reflection, you'll understand why time doesn't steal beauty, it refines it, and why the most irresistible women are not chasing life, but finally allowing it to come to them. The first thing that makes an older woman truly irresistible is her peace, not the fragile calm that comes from comfort, but the deep stillness that comes from self-acceptance. When she was younger, she might have spent years trying to please others, to fit into roles that never felt natural. She compared herself, apologized for existing, and mistook approval for love. But eventually, she grew tired of carrying that weight. She realized that peace is not found in being liked. It's found in no longer needing to be. This is the kind of peace that radiates from her presence like sunlight through an open window. She no longer confuses silence with weakness. She doesn't rush to fill a void or to explain herself. She listens deeply, and her listening has power. Around her, people begin to slow down. They speak more honestly, breathe more freely, and feel less afraid to be themselves. Her calm is contagious because it tells others that it's safe to let go. This is the paradox of true serenity. She has stopped trying to control anything, and that surrender gives her a quiet strength that nothing can shake. The world mistakes her detachment for pride, but it's simply awareness. She no longer participates in every storm that passes. She knows the cost of reacting to everything, of trying to fix what was never hers to fix. Her peace doesn't come from avoiding life, but from embracing it exactly as it is, imperfect, changing, and beautifully temporary. And that makes her magnetic. People sense that she's anchored in something they've been searching for their whole lives, herself. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely, and an irresistible woman has learned that difference through experience, not theory. In her younger years, silence used to frighten her. The empty house, the long evenings, the unanswered messages, all of it felt like rejection. She mistook the absence of noise for the absence of love. But time, with its slow and sometimes painful lessons, taught her that solitude isn't a punishment. It's a homecoming. It's where the soul finally finds room to breathe. Now, she doesn't run from her own company. She treasures it. Her solitude isn't filled with distractions or endless scrolling, but with small rituals that bring her closer to herself. A cup of tea at dawn, a walk without destination, a moment of stillness before sleep. In these quiet spaces, she listens to the whisper of intuition, that inner voice that had been drowned out for years by the opinions of others. This listening transforms her. It gives her a clarity that no conversation could provide. She begins to see that she's not missing anyone. She's finding herself. People often wonder how she can live this way, so content without needing to be surrounded. But what they don't see is the richness that lives inside her. Solitude has made her observant. She notices details most overlook, the way light moves across the floor, the sound of rain on the window, the subtle peace of being alive without having to perform. And because she no longer fears being alone, she no longer clings. She loves with freedom now, not from need, but from choice. It's this inner fullness that changes how others experience her. Around her, people feel both calm and curious. They sense that she doesn't need them to fill a void. She's not chasing approval or afraid of silence, and this creates a rare kind of attraction, one that isn't born of desire, but of admiration. Her solitude gives her depth, and depth, in a world of noise, is irresistible. There comes a point in a woman's life when she gets tired of pretending. She has spent years smiling when she wanted to speak, saying it's fine when it wasn't, agreeing to things that made her spirit shrink just to keep the peace. At first, she told herself this was kindness, that avoiding confrontation was maturity. But as the years went by, she began to feel something die quietly inside her each time she silenced her truth. It wasn't peace she was preserving. It was fear, fear of being misunderstood, rejected, or abandoned. The irresistible woman has walked through that fire and come out knowing that truth, though uncomfortable, is the only path that doesn't corrode the soul. When she speaks now, it isn't to impress or to win, it's to align. She doesn't raise her voice because she doesn't need to. Her words carry weight, not because they're loud, but because they're clean. There's no manipulation, no need for validation, no hidden motive. And people feel that. You can sense it when she talks, that quiet conviction that can only come from someone who's already lost what she was afraid to lose. You can't threaten her with disapproval because she's already learned to live without it. Her peace doesn't depend on being understood. It depends on being honest. In a world that rewards conformity, her truth can feel uncomfortable to others. It challenges illusions, exposes false harmony, and forces those around her to look at themselves. Some admire her for it, others resent her, but either way, she commands respect. You don't forget a woman who has the courage to say what everyone else is thinking, but no one else dares to voice. Yet her honesty isn't cruel. It's never meant to wound, only to awaken. She's not interested in being right. She's interested in being real. There's a moment in every conversation where most people hesitate, where the truth forms on their lips, but fear pulls it back. The irresistible woman doesn't flinch there. She's learned that silence in that moment costs too much, because every time you hide your truth, you teach yourself that your voice doesn't matter. Every time you suppress what you feel, you trade authenticity for acceptance, and that trade, she's discovered, is poison. It might win temporary approval, but it leaves you hollow. So she stopped paying that price. She decided that being whole is worth more than being liked. Her honesty has changed how she relates to the world. She no longer surrounds herself with people who require her to shrink. She chooses friends who can stand in the light of truth without running from it. Her relationships have fewer words but deeper roots. Those who stay in her life are there because they value transparency over comfort. They don't fear her truth, they trust it. And that trust is a kind of intimacy that no performance can replace. It's why she doesn't need grand gestures or constant reassurance. She lives in alignment, and that alignment attracts the right souls to her naturally. You might think that this kind of woman would be hard or unyielding, but it's quite the opposite. Her honesty has softened her, not hardened her. Because once you stop lying to yourself, compassion grows. She knows how much courage it takes to be real, and so she gives others space to stumble. She listens without judgment because she knows how it feels to be trapped in pretense. Her truth has made her gentle, but her gentleness has teeth. You cannot manipulate her, flatter her, or buy her silence. She will forgive you, but she will not lie for you. And this, ironically, is what makes her magnetic. In a world where most people speak to be liked, her words cut through the noise like music. You may not always agree with her, but you trust her. And trust, more than beauty or charm, is what creates attraction that lasts. She doesn't seduce through words, but through truth. You don't fall for her because she tells you what you want to hear. You fall for her because when she speaks, you finally hear what's real. There was a time when she measured her worth by the mirror. A time when she believed that the lines on her face, the firmness of her body, or the clothes she wore determined her beauty. The younger version of herself believed that the world only saw what was visible, the surface, the shape, the decoration. But life has a way of revealing what really matters. After heartbreaks, disappointments, and the quiet ache of trying too hard, she began to notice something strange. The most radiant women she knew were not the youngest or the most flawless, but the ones who had made peace with who they were. Their faces glowed not from perfection, but from presence. Their eyes didn't chase attention, they held it. She started to understand that beauty is not a face, it's an energy. So she changed her focus. Instead of forcing her body to meet impossible standards, she began to care for it as a vessel of her spirit. She started sleeping better, eating clean, breathing deeply, moving with intention. She began to walk slower, speak less, and smile when it felt true. The world didn't change, she did, and suddenly the mirror became kinder. The same features she once criticized now looked different because they carried a different energy. This is what most people never learn. The body reflects the mind. When the spirit is anxious, the face tightens. When the soul is at peace, it glows. Her beauty became effortless the moment it stopped being a project. Now she values how she feels over how she looks. She chooses clothing that makes her comfortable, not costumes to be admired. She surrounds herself with people who raise her energy instead of draining it. She cleans her space, her thoughts, and her relationships with the same devotion. If a conversation leaves her heavy, she doesn't return to it. If an environment dims her light, she steps away. Because she knows that energy is not abstract. It's the invisible atmosphere of the soul. And nothing, not makeup, not money, not youth, can imitate that. When she walks into a room, people notice her, but they don't know why. It's not the color of her lipstick or the cut of her dress. It's the serenity in her eyes. It's the way she carries herself without rush or tension. You feel her before you see her. That's energy. It's the same power that draws people toward a sunset or a fire, something alive, calm, and untamed. And what's most striking is that she doesn't try to project it. She simply is it. The light others see in her is the reflection of the inner order she has built. This habit of tending to her energy gives her something that youth alone can't provide: timelessness. Because while physical beauty fades, energetic beauty deepens. Every year she becomes more transparent, not invisible, but luminous. The layers of pretense fall away, and what remains is essence. She no longer hides behind fashion or filters because her spirit has become her signature. That's why people remember her long after she leaves. Not for what she wore, but for how they felt in her presence. Lighter, calmer, more alive. And maybe this is the great secret no one tells you. Beauty doesn't come from chasing youth, but from releasing resistance. When she stopped fighting time, time began to serve her. It carved depth into her face, softness into her gestures, and power into her silence. Energy became her perfume, invisible yet unforgettable. And once you've known that kind of beauty, the world's definition of it feels small, almost childish. One of the most magnetic things about an older woman who has awakened to herself is how lightly she moves through life. She no longer fights every current, no longer believes that control is the same as power. When she was younger, she pushed against everything, time, people, circumstances, trying to force life to obey her plans. But she has seen enough cycles now to understand a simple, humbling truth. Life flows best when you stop trying to master it. What once felt like surrender now feels like wisdom. She doesn't resist change anymore. She dances with it. This doesn't mean she's passive or detached. On the contrary, she's more alive than ever, but she acts from clarity, not from panic. She trusts the rhythm of things, the seasons of becoming and letting go. She has cried enough to know that loss is not failure, but evolution. And this understanding gives her a strange serenity, even when life becomes chaotic. Others might call her indifferent, but she's not. She's present. She's seen how worry solves nothing and how acceptance doesn't mean defeat but dignity. When something leaves her life, she blesses it. When something new arrives, she welcomes it. This flow is her strength. You can see it in how she walks, how she reacts, how she forgives. She no longer takes every disagreement as a wound or every delay as injustice. She knows that life isn't against her, it's refining her. And because she doesn't waste energy on resistance, she has more to give to what truly matters. People feel this difference immediately. Her presence relaxes them. It's as if she carries an invisible wisdom that says, you don't have to fight everything, you can just breathe. That calm is magnetic, especially in a world obsessed with noise and control. She's not without emotion, she still feels deeply, but her emotions no longer rule her. They rise and fall like waves, and she lets them move through her instead of clinging to them. That's why she rarely loses herself in drama anymore. She's learned to pause before reacting, to find stillness before speaking. This pause gives her power, the kind that isn't loud but undeniable. When she looks at you, you sense she's not seeking agreement. She's seeing truth. That gaze alone can disarm even the most defensive heart. Her lack of resistance extends beyond emotions. It shapes her entire philosophy of living. She's stopped believing in perfect timing or the right way. She follows intuition now, that quiet internal compass that rarely screams but never lies. And because of that, life seems to conspire with her instead of against her. Opportunities arrive naturally, people appear when they're meant to, and endings no longer terrify her. She knows that if something is meant for her, she won't have to chase it, and if it's not, clinging will only poison it. This acceptance gives her an almost mystical allure, the kind that comes only when someone stops arguing with life. And perhaps the reason this habit is so attractive is because it's so rare. Most people move through life clenched, fighting the present, regretting the past, fearing the future. But she moves like water, not because her life is easier, but because she's learned the art of letting go. When you're near her, you feel that fluidity too, like you can exhale. She reminds you of something you once knew as a child, that existence isn't meant to be conquered, only experienced. Her grace is not performance, it's the absence of resistance. And that's the paradox of her power. By no longer trying to control life, she has mastered it. By surrendering, she has become unstoppable. Her flow isn't weakness, it's alignment. And in that alignment, everything that's truly hers begins to find her with ease. What makes an older woman truly irresistible has nothing to do with the image the world sells her, and everything to do with the essence she's returned to. She's no longer the girl who needs to be chosen, nor the woman who exhausts herself proving her worth. She's something far rarer, someone who has come home to herself. What others see as mystery is simply self-possession. She has met her own shadow, made peace with her imperfections, and discovered that she can be both soft and strong, both loving and detached. Her beauty now flows from the integration of opposites, the harmony between surrender and will, silence and voice, solitude and connection. People often say, she has a glow, but what they're really sensing is coherence. Her thoughts, her emotions, her actions, they no longer pull in different directions. She doesn't waste energy trying to be liked or hiding what she feels. There's a stillness about her, a centeredness that only comes from living long enough to lose illusions. She's not immune to pain, but she no longer fears it. And because she doesn't fear it, she doesn't run from life anymore. She lets it touch her fully. Joy, loss, aging, love, all of it. That openness makes her magnetic because she's not acting. She's alive. To the world, she may appear distant, even untouchable, but that's because her attention is sacred now. She no longer gives it to everything or everyone. She listens selectively, speaks intentionally, and loves wisely. And that restraint, that inner discipline, makes her captivating. The modern world glorifies noise, constant talking, constant sharing, but she embodies silence. When she enters a room, she doesn't have to announce herself. Her presence speaks louder than words. That's the power of a woman who has stopped asking for permission to exist. And here lies the paradox. What once looked like isolation is now serenity. What once seemed like rebellion is actually peace. What once felt like loss of youth, of certainty, of attention, has become liberation. She no longer needs to chase love because she has become love in motion. Her magnetism doesn't seduce, it invites. It doesn't promise excitement, it offers depth. And in a world starved for depth, that's irresistible. She has discovered that beauty, at its highest form, is truth. When the masks fall away, when pretense dissolves, what remains is essence, raw, radiant, unrepeatable. That's what others see when they look at her and can't quite explain their fascination. It's not lust, not admiration, not even envy. It's recognition. They see in her what they long to see in themselves, someone who has stopped fighting life and started living it. So if you are listening to this and feel the quiet ache of time passing, remember this: age doesn't steal your beauty. Fear does. The moment you stop fearing change, your beauty returns, refined, grounded, eternal. The woman who accepts her life as it is becomes irresistible, not because she's trying to be, but because she finally is. If this reflection spoke to you, take a moment to subscribe, share, or comment your thoughts. Not for vanity, but because reflections like this might reach someone who has forgotten their own light. Every voice in this space keeps that light alive, yours included.